You know that feeling when everything just seems unnecessarily difficult, like you're constantly swimming upstream? Well, what if I told you that a single, fundamental error in our thinking might actually be the hidden source of all these daily frustrations? It's crazy to think about, but what if the problem isn't the world itself, but the mental blueprint you're using to navigate it?
So why are we causing our own misery? I know it's a pretty heavy question right off the bat, but seriously, what if the anxiety, the anger, and the disappointment you feel aren't always caused by the outside world? What if they're actually caused by the way your own mind is tricking you into seeing things? We constantly blame our circumstances, right? But as we're going to see in today's explainer, the real culprit is usually hiding in plain sight, right between our ears.
To fix these mental blueprints, we obviously need a map for today. So we'll quickly cover the root of our suffering, the map versus the territory, subjective versus objective truth, navigating with a bad map, and finally, updating your mental map.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the root of our suffering.
85%. Think about that number for a second. When a psychologist took a test specifically designed to measure self-deception, and keep in mind he was actively trying to be completely honest, he scored an 85%. The really shocking realization here? We are literally lying to ourselves the vast majority of the time. Our minds are just constantly filtering reality, editing our memories, and creating these massive blind spots just to protect our egos.
So what this means is that unhappiness is really just the result of a mismatch between objective reality and our wildly flawed perception of it. The source material uses this brilliant comparison. It's like walking face first into a closed glass door that you firmly believed was open. Bam! You get a bloody nose, right? But why? Because your perception absolutely did not match the physical reality. And you can't blame the door. Reality wins every single time. Our mental models are just so often completely out of sync with what's actually right in front of us.
Which brings us to part two, the map versus the territory.
This is the core of it all, the map versus territory error. Drawing from some deep philosophical thinking errors, this concept highlights the immense danger of treating your mental representations, your words, or your symbols, which we'll call the map, as if they are perfectly identical to objective reality, the territory. Confusing your internalized generalizations with the actual world leads to oversimplified, totally inaccurate judgments, and honestly just a whole lot of unnecessary suffering. Think of it like holding a doodle of a street on a napkin and getting furious when real cars don't drive on the paper. It makes no sense, right?
There's this ancient Zen proverb that perfectly captures this trap. The finger that points at the moon is not the moon. Your words, your angry thoughts, your assumptions, they're all just clumsy representations pointing at reality. Much like a kid's crayon drawing of a house isn't a house you can actually live in, your sudden thought that, say, everything is ruined, is just a label. It is not the actual physical reality of the universe.
Moving along to part three, let's break down subjective versus objective truth.
We can actually break truth down into three distinct categories. You have constructed truth, which is how society sees the world. Then there's subjective truth, how you uniquely see it. And finally, objective truth, which is what the world simply is. The source text uses this great analogy of a baseball umpire who says, hey, I call him as I see him. Now that is subjective truth. That's your personal umpire call. But your call might be totally, completely wrong compared to the objective truth, the indisputable physics of exactly where that baseball crossed the plate.
Philip K. Dick has this absolutely profound quote, "Reality is that which, when you stop believing in it, doesn't go away." And this brings us to a massively important takeaway. If your subjective truth, your map, doesn't align with objective reality, you are eventually going to crash. You can stubbornly believe all day long that a glass door is open, but the second you try to walk through it, objective reality takes over. Reality does not care about your map. Like we said, reality wins every single time.
Okay, let's look at part four, navigating with a bad map.
So your mind actively interprets reality. It creates meaning and essentially shapes your entire experience. But when your internalized picture is false, you literally become a victim of your own inaccurate judgments. You aren't actually reacting to what someone said, you're reacting to what you think they meant, based entirely on your own flawed mental model. And suddenly, you're completely tangled up in what psychologists call cognitive distortions.
And we do this all the time. Think about distortions like all or nothing thinking, mind reading, fortune telling, or labeling. Let's say you're fortune telling. You're predicting a catastrophic failure without a shred of actual evidence. In that moment, you are quite literally reading a bad map. You aren't looking at the territory. You're looking at a little doodle in your head that says, "Here be dragons," when in reality, there's just an open road ahead of you.
If you're using all or nothing thinking, seeing everything in extreme black and white, or just labeling someone with a single negative word, you are entirely failing to see the complex reality right in front of you.
Finally, Part 5, Updating Your Mental Map. How do we actually fix this? Well, the absolute best antidote to all this self-inflicted suffering is metacognition. Basically, it's the skill of thinking about your thinking to challenge those flawed models of reality. By stepping outside of yourself for a second and just monitoring your thoughts without getting totally sucked into them, you realize something super powerful. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness experiencing those thoughts. Your thoughts are just the map, but you are the person holding it. And that means you have the power to put it down, observe it objectively, and draw a much better one.
To actually put this into practice, try asking yourself 4 simple questions the next time a really stressful thought pops up. 1. Is it true? 2. Can you absolutely know it's true? 3. How do you react when you believe it? And 4. Who would you be without it? Applying these steps is like doing a rigorous reality check. It forces you to take your internalized map and vigorously test it against the actual objective territory. It basically forces you to stop fighting reality and start aligning with it. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. Are you reacting to the world or just your map of it? The next time you find yourself feeling frustrated, angry, or just totally overwhelmed, take a step back and ask yourself, are you fighting objective reality, or are you just arguing with a poorly drawn map in your own head?